He's back into it in Chester. Here's El Senior. Yes! Yes!
The center back, Jacob Glesnes, is going for it.
Oh my God! What a goal! And that will do it! One of the best comebacks in recent years. 3 unanswered by the Union. And they go into the Gold Cup break, winning it 3-2.
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and you guys ready for emergency podcast time live on Twitter Spaces? This is a day that nobody wants to spend their Saturday waking up to 11 players announced on the MLS's health and safety protocols. But, we're here, we're crying out on Twitter Spaces. Would love to hear from everybody. So, if you want to talk, just raise that hand function and we'll get you in here to speak. But before we even talk about what players are on the health and safety protocols, the number one thing I want to say is that, first and foremost, whatever players have COVID that are maybe a close contact or whatever, first and foremost, hopefully the players get better. It's a game, right? Health and safety of players is a lot more important than this game that we all love and everything. So you just hope for whatever players do have COVID, hopefully they recover fine from it. And for players that maybe don't have COVID, hopefully they'll be available to play tomorrow. But that I want to get that out there before we talk about what players are on this list. And so the news broke about an hour ago that 11 Philadelphia Union players are in the health and safety protocol, and they are as followed: Ali Bedoya, Joe Bendick, Andre Blake, Corey Burke, Jack Elliott, Jacob Glesnes, Elsenio Alves Powell, Sergio Santos, Quinn Sullivan, and Kai Wagner. Doesn't give you a lot of options on the bench, does it, Paul Catrino?
Not necessarily. Especially, we do have to take into high account that some of these players could just return negative tests tomorrow and be available. But if you're going to just treat it as you don't have any of these guys, you're looking a little thin. You're looking at Flock maybe playing in a left back position. You're giving Aurelien Collin his first minutes of the season. You're throwing a lot of intangibles into this lineup that simply didn't need to be there right now at this moment. But if there's one coach that I'd like to have in this situation with this current thing going on, I think it would be Jim. Talk about someone who actually knows these guys and could maybe utilize them and fire them up. You're not going to have Bedoya giving a pregame speech, but we've heard Jim swear quite a couple times. I think he can do the job.
Hey, look, if we're questioning center backs, how much does Jim Curtin still have left in his legs? We saw after the New York Red Bulls game, after Glesnes scored that goal, he was one of the first people down there to celebrate with the players. So, I don't know, maybe Jim Curtin has a little bit something left in his tank to play center back.
Listen, the guy, you can't lose your stride, all right? And Jim is tall enough that stride is going to get him places wherever he goes. Whether or not he can maybe, body a couple guys like Haber up top is to be determined. But, yeah.
You could step in, Paul Catrino.
I play center back for the ladies. I don't play it well. I play it. I don't know how I snuck onto that 11, Union Twitter 11 yesterday. I think I just kind of campaigned for it and got it. But, I'll give it a shot. If they want to call me, that's fine. Actually, Chuck is in here. We're supposed to be sitting together. He can find someone to get my ticket, and I'll just play in the. I'll just play in the game.
You have a good 90 in you?
I've got a good 37.
Hey, look, if Colin gets a start, you can come MLS in for Colin.
Speed, I'll be humble and say 37.
Okay, fair enough. But, you could definitely come in for Colin. You and Colin split the minutes. So Colin gets the first half, you get the second half, and all is well then, right?
Yeah, he can take the tired legs, get him to run around a little bit, and then I'll just trip people and get suspended for the final. Yeah,
exactly. You don't care if you get a red
they
card.
Won't need me anyway.
Exactly. But like you alluded to, so the 11 players that are listed as out on the player availability report by MLS, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are out. They can be out. It says right on the MLS report that they are in quarantine due to participating in high-risk behavior, quarantine because they were related to being a high-risk contact, pending a COVID-19 result, inconclusive COVID-19 test results. So, I mean, there's all these different variables why they could be listed as out. And like you said, I mean, an hour up until kickoff, and I saw your post, you said, all these people are freaking out and everything. And to have all 11 of these guys out tomorrow would be concerning, but it's definitely a possibility that all 11 of these guys aren't out because there's a lot of factors that go into why they're out. I know Ricky Zelfer's in here, and he kind of told me on Thursday morning that, some inside source told him that there was a COVID outbreak, and I'll let Ricky come on and speak whenever he's done shopping at Rite Aid, I think he told us.
I was just getting my vaccine card signed, man.
Oh, by who, Ilsinho?
What?
Okay.
This is not the Roast Ricky podcast.
That actually sounds kind of fun.
Be. That definitely could be. Like, it wouldn't be the first time we had done that. Yeah. Let's just say it was not the best message to get Thursday morning. And multiple players would likely be missing out. That practice was canceled for Thursday. And the fun thing is, I had told Todd and somebody else, and we were all just kind of like, oh, will they say anything on Friday during the press conference? And then the first thing Jim says is confirming it, which is interesting. I think since they knew that they, unlike the first playoff game when Montero and Mbaizo were out, they knew that they would have to confirm the day before. So they kind of wanted to get ahead of it. Unlike last time where it just kind of nobody really knew that they were going to miss out that game. At least I didn't think anybody knew.
No, I mean, that
was
kind of did
surprise.
come out of nowhere.
And then for this game, they were like, oh, yeah, they'd have to release the day before. And I was like, but they literally just missed 2 weeks ago, 2 players. So I figured we wouldn't know until Sunday afternoon when the roster comes out if my source was correct or not. And throughout this season, the source has been right on everything they have told me. But it's just always been smaller stuff. And this time it was just yeah, something happened. A lot of players could miss out. They just straight up canceled practice because they didn't know who was going to be out and who was going to be in. And then everybody's seen the photos from yesterday where it's there's 15 guys on a practice field. And it's really obvious some of the players that have missed it.
Yeah, that doesn't help. It also doesn't help, too, that I feel like MLS kind of gatekeeps their information. You saw so much misinformation or maybe half information yesterday on Twitter, people trying to figure out the policies for MLS's COVID procedures. And now you see today, people are saying, oh, you need 2 or 3 negative PCR tests, which goes back to Paul's point. All 11 of these players, potentially all 11 of them could not be on this report, and then they'll all be available tomorrow. Now, with them missing back-to-back days of practice, yeah, it's not ideal, but I would just be really shocked if all 11 of these players are out because they have COVID, because I feel like wouldn't the whole team be high risk because these guys are around each other every single day practicing? So I think there's still a lot of questions, but at least we have the 11 players that we know that are either have COVID or high-risk people.
You now officially know the worst case scenario. That's what this is right now. You now have a definitive worst case scenario list that you're working with. I mean, a lot of factors to work through. Careful doing your own research, everyone, because it might lead you down some rabbit holes. That's why a lot of this stuff gets mixed up through Twitter, man. There's a lot of people just sending screenshots and go, where'd you get that from?
I do think looking at who is not available, that kind of tells the tale of this team for the last few years, because these are all the guys that have been around for 3 years, and they're all best friends, except for out of 2 of them. You look at Glesnes and Quinn Sullivan, and you're like, these 2 don't really make sense with the rest of the group. But you look at the other 9 guys, and you're like, yeah, I can see those guys all ending up in the same place, regardless of what it was. Not saying that I do or do not know. I'm just not willing to admit what I do or do not know in that situation.
What's the fun in that? Come on now.
Hey, man, my source is still usable for at least another day and a half. do with that what you will. So like looking at this, I'm personally, yes, you're missing you're missing three of your stars. Honestly, when we talk about this team, we always talk about the star is the team. And with a defensive team, your stars are going to be Andre Blake, Jack Elliott, Glesnes, Kai Wagner even. Those four being out is not great. And if you had told me a week ago, 6 starters are out from the last game, I definitely would have been like, I'm fine if one of those 6 is Elvis Powell. But the other 5, I would be like, ugh. Because weirdly enough, the 5 starters that are available from that last game, I'm like, oh, okay. So if we had kept our back line intact, you'd be going into this game. We won the last game 1-1 and penalties. We should be okay. And we won the other game 1-0 in the 123rd minute. But it's like our offense has been so bad in the postseason, and the only players we have left are our offense and then our right back who hasn't played in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's concerning, right? And I mean, look, I'm sure we all watched the game against New York City and New England, and we were all so excited once they went into extra time, and then the game went into penalties, and then you see James Sands come off with an injury in like the 80th minute. You see Tavon Gray, the right back, pull his hamstring near the end of the game, and he's goes back on the field because they're already down a man because Tati got the red card. And it's like, okay, well, it looks like James Sands might not play, Tavon Gray might not play, but then Ronnie Diley yesterday said everyone is available on Sunday that was available against New England except for Tati. And so
it's a straight up lie.
It could be.
That has to be it. Did you see Gray fall over after he kicked that ball? There's no way that man can walk right now. There's 100% no way that Tavon Gray. There's no way that man is able a week later play a 90-minute soccer game. I don't even know if he can play 30 minutes tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's funny that everybody's saying, oh, the real underdogs in MLS is Real Salt Lake. The Philadelphia Union said, wait, hold my beer. What top you on with so many players potentially unavailable? I mean, it's either the 4-4-2, 4-3-2-1 Christmas tree. I would love to hear both of your guys' thoughts on a potential starting lineup. I mean, the best I could come up with the diamond was Friese in goal, Baiza right back, Colin Friendly as the 2 center backs, Leon Flock as a left back, El Brujo as a 6, McGlynn, Montero, Gazdag as your other 3 midfielders. Shabilko, you could put Fontana up top, or you can put Aronson up top. Sound right for you guys for a 4-4-2 diamond? Do something different?
I know Kincaid put this out that he thinks they're going to go with a 4-4-2 this morning and with Aronson up top. And I'm just kind of like, you've already lost half of your team. You're not going to go out and switch the formation back to something you haven't consistently played to start a game off in like 4 months, right? And I think overall, we're kind of at the point where most of the 11 you kind of have to go with. I think there's going to be 2 or 3 choices. Do you put Flock at left back, or do you play Harriel, who, if you went to the open practice, Harriel was the second left back because Matt Real has not technically been with the team.
Yeah, and he still wasn't in practice today. Nor was Davo in practice.
The Davo thing is interesting because, yeah, we all know. Anyways, the Matt Real thing, technically speaking, I was informed that Matt Real was asked to come in, which is weird because he's played 1 game with the team in 4 or 5 months, right? Mm-hmm. And that was the last game they didn't have anybody on the bench for. I'm sorry if I'm really loud. There's a helicopter over me right now. And then I think what you can do is, and this is why my lineups that I've texted out to the group chat and I've said something on Twitter. Do I have to walk through every noise that exists on this way back to my apartment? There's a leaf blower now.
You might have to.
So I'm thinking that if you have a midfield 3 of, say, Flock, Martinez, and probably McGlynn, or maybe Bueno, because you're going to have a person on the right? I think you can live with the fact that maybe our center backs are not as solid as we're used to, but our midfield 3 is still going to outrun New York's depleted midfield. They might not have James Sands. If James Sands doesn't start tomorrow, that is a huge gain for the Union because the Union still have their whole midfield essentially. if we're being honest, losing Bedoya might not be a huge loss outside of leadership. We need somebody in this game without all of these defensive players that can go up and down the field. And Bueno, McGlynn, a lot better option than Bedoya, who's probably going to be tired after 70 minutes if he's eligible anyways, right? Let's be honest with ourselves. So I would think you risk Harriel as a left back, or maybe Matt Real does come in and you can play him. The big problem here is that Stuart Finley has been okay when he's played the 2 or 3 games that he's had a chance to play with Elliott out or coming in at the end of games. Colin has 7 minutes in a Champions League game, I think, this year. That's the most worrying. You might even have called Matt Real to play center back, honestly, just because you don't believe in Colin. Or the wild option would be Brandon Craig. I know there are some people that have suggested he's might not have been signed to be a first-team player anytime soon or ever. But you signed him. You have him on the roster. If you're going to throw out another bunch of homegrowns, you might as well go with that. I think the midfield speaks for itself. Everybody is still there except for Bedoya. And then I think we could start a dead person up top over Casper, and we wouldn't lose anything. Honestly, we all know who I would start up top at this point. You might as well just do it if you're going to lose.
Paul?
Ray Gaddis.
Yes. Yeah, the president of the Ray Gaddis fan club, Paul Katrina.
What the hell is up? So they're not calling him right now. They're not doing their job correctly. That's all I'm saying.
Think you get it done and get a goal?
I'll take it at this point. That's fine. You can all yell at me as much as you want. That's quite okay. Yeah, I think the funniest message I got out of this was my dad texting me going, "At least Casper's still available," and I threw my tea. I threw my tea directly in the trash. I couldn't sip it anymore. Like, that's the positive you got out of this message, is that he's still available. Great. In regards to the lineup, I'm totally cool with Flock, Martinez, Montero, Gazdag, Pox, and Casper. Those guys filling out the Christmas tree seems totally fine to me. I'm absolutely cool with Harriel being on the left. If they're calling Matt Real back for a reason, he's going to get in this game, whether it's in a weird midfield position. Not that you'd really need it with the guys available like McGlynn and Bueno as well. Kind of got to think it's got to be a defensive role. God, all eyes are going to be in front of Andre Blake. It's just how it is. Every possession that New York City has, if this is the back line we're rolling with, tomorrow's going to be really stressful. And there's been nothing easy about this playoff run. So just embrace the fact that you're going to lose your hair over this. And welcome to the MLS. This is how it is, baby. At least we're here. Some people can't even say that they're here stressing right now. And that speaks volumes.
It does. I mean, at least this game's at home as opposed to, God forbid, New York City would have beat us on decision day, and then this game would have been in New York City playing on that baseball field. At least we're home. I mean, we're expecting over 19,000. The game sold out within 12 hours, which is unheard of. And look, I mean, fans make a difference. I say it all the time. I don't know how much you guys get into that on Views from the Bridge, Paul. But I mean, people just coming to the stadium being as loud as possible definitely makes an intense environment. And maybe New York City players, maybe they're coming in here now way overconfident, saying, wow, look, they have all these players out, and maybe they're way over their heads. And like, what do these players that we just talked about in the starting 11 have to lose? They absolutely have nothing. You know, my thing is, like, if they weren't good enough for the Philadelphia Union, they wouldn't be on this team right now. And so it's like, you know, I still trust these guys. Look, Collins won multiple trophies in MLS. Yeah, he's lost multiple steps, but I feel like he can do a job at least for 45 minutes. Martinez, I think, is going to have his best game defensively. I think you're going to ask a lot from Montero defensively. I mean, I feel like we always ask our midfielders to do a lot defensively, but more so than ever now. I mean, if you go with Finley and Colin, which I think you should go as your two center backs, yeah, I mean, your midfield's definitely going to have to come back and help out double team guys and let New York City have the ball. And you try to hit teams on the counterattack like we saw in 2019. Not saying that, we can do that again, but, we might go back to seeing what we saw in 2019 where Philadelphia Union are fine absorbing pressure and then they play an outball to Montero or somebody, and then, God forbid, Casper can try to outrun somebody and hopefully put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, I'll knock on some wood for that one.
We should. Ricky, anything else you feel comfortable talking about, letting out? If not, it's cool.
If we're being completely honest, Yankee Stadium might have helped Aurelian Collin keep up with the gameplay because he wouldn't have to run as much. Is that a hot take? I'm sorry. Other than that, yeah, I'm trying my best here. I didn't realize this was going to happen at this time of day. There was no text sent. That would have been nice, Paul. Todd. That would have been really nice. Other than that, I think this is going to be the sort of game where we're going to have a few players that if we win this game, it's going to come down to certain players that might not have been giving the opportunities this season. I think you're going to see some things from, these backup center backs like Stuart Finley. This is what his fourth or fifth, like, actual chance to show something, right? Harriel's probably gonna be impactful on this game, whether it's as the starting left back or maybe even he starts on the right and Biza goes to the left. They do something like that. It's going to be a time for like Matt Freese to stand up and show why like he should consistently be the backup and not thrown back and forth with Joe Bendick. And I think we're going to see something from some of these young players that, like, McGlynn is definitely going to have even more of an impact in this game potentially than he has in the last few months. You'll probably have to see Anthony Fontana as your backup striker at this point. Whether it's he comes on as part of a 4-4-2, he comes on behind Aronson, who comes on up top. I think potentially you have to have Aronson or one of those other midfielders on the bench just as an option to change things, because if you start Aronson, Gazdag, and Montero, you don't really have a real 10 off the bench. You could bring Fontana in as a 10, but he's a different 10 than the other 3 10s are, really. We've all seen that over the last few years. And this is going to be a big test for a player like Bueno as well. They will all definitely have to be a part of this game for us to win.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit confused why Davo wasn't at practice today, and same with Matt Real. I feel like if Matt Real was getting into the game, he would definitely be a part of practice today, and especially Davo too, where you look, the only attacking option you have on the bench is Anthony Fontana. I mean, I guess it depends what you do with the lineup, but we definitely know Colin, Finley, Flock, Bizo, Montero, Martinez, McGlynn, Gazdag, Shabelka are all going to play. Now, I guess it's whether or not you want to put on Aronson or Fontana. But, you would think that you would keep Davo in this training session. He wasn't even listed as one of the players unavailable, but for whatever reason, didn't show up or wasn't told to come into practice, which is so weird to me because he wasn't even listed as one of the 11 players that were in the health and safety protocols. Now, I guess the best case scenario for Philadelphia Union fans is we're all at the stadium tailgating, and then an hour before kickoff, we look at the lineup, and a whole bunch of these players come off of the list. I mean, I think we could still do a job without Ali Bedoya. I think just missing Jack Elliott and Jacob Glesnes, I think that's the two that hurt us the most. Losing Kai Wagner hurts, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I think Liam Flock, I mean, we've seen him play left back, I feel like once, twice this season. Did an okay job. Didn't even give up a penalty against New England. I feel like that's what happened.
Yeah, that was the game that he played left back.
So I feel like
going away from the goal.
Yeah. So I feel like Jacob Glesnes and Jack Elliott. Yeah, and obviously people are going to say Andre Blake, but I feel a lot more confident with Matt Friesen goal compared to trying to trust Everly Collin and Finley as our two center backs. So, I mean, if we all get to the stadium tomorrow and Jack Elliott and Jacob Glesnes are off of this list, then I feel a lot more confident. But, looking at this list, some players I definitely expect not to come off this list tomorrow, and could potentially be some big players for the Philadelphia Union, which just trust the players that we have available, and whatever players may or may not come off. And the one thing I'm confused about, so let's say we win, and Real Salt Lake wins. I know Taylor Twellman said, okay, well, the players have to quarantine for 10 days. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that's not making sense. And I mean, whoever's listening to this, I mean, if you guys have more current news, you have a better understanding than it, then please talk about it. But it didn't make sense when Taylor Twellman's like, yeah, they have to quarantine for 10 days. And then Jonathan Tannenwald's like, yeah, they can return a negative test within an hour before kickoff. So, yeah, I just really wish MLS would come out with a statement, say what's true, what's not true. Maybe they're both true. Maybe it's just half-truths. I don't know. I think there's just still a lot of questions. And I'm sure once I get done with this, I mean, there's still going to be so many questions coming out of this, okay? Or the what players had a negative test, because I was told that apparently there was 4 false positives. And so if that's the case, okay, that's good news for the Philadelphia Union. I just think throughout this day, there's still going to be a lot changing. I think up until tomorrow, I think there's going to be a lot changing. Like I said earlier, I'd be really, really surprised if there are 11 players still on this list tomorrow. But, anything can change, right? Ricky? No? It's all good. It's all good. Well, if anybody else wants to get the thoughts out there, how they feel free to raise a hand. Because like I said, we can all cry about this. I mean, I'm confident with the players that we have, because the environment, I mean, we've seen it the last 2 games. And now, granted, I mean, we had our full starting 11 against New York Red Bulls and against Nashville. But, you fans, we make a difference. And that atmosphere in the stadium leading up to the game, it's going to be incredible. I'm looking forward to seeing the terrific atmosphere that Keystone State Ultras always provide, the Sons of Ben provide, and then people that don't even sit in those sections. I mean, the last 2 games, I mean, you guys have seen the videos, you guys have heard all that stuff on social media. You guys have been in the stadium hearing just the eruption from everybody that's not in the river. And I still think that this team has a lot to play for. And like I said earlier, I mean, if these guys weren't good enough, they wouldn't be on the team. And yeah, it might be sad. It might be a little bit discouraging that we could potentially have a lot of players out. But, we got to get behind these guys more than ever. The one song that keeps playing in my head, and I would love for you, whether it be Keystone State Ultras, whether it be the Sons of Ben, just belting out Hero by David Bowie. That would be a fantastic time, in my opinion. And Tyler, it looks like you actually accepted the speak button. So Tyler, how are you feeling, man?
Honestly, more confident than I think a lot of us are feeling right now with the jarring news. But with this podcast, I feel a lot more comfortable. You've talked some sense into me, and I think a lot of us fans. But honestly, I just wanted to pose a question. I guess 2 questions. What game do you think Gazdag has come Sunday? Because NYFC, according to their subreddit and Twitter, they don't seem really confident that they're going to get a result. They think it's going to be a draw into penalties, and somehow the Union pull it off. I'm not. My heart can't do that again. So let's hope. Let's hope not for that. And my second question would be: do you think we're going to get that breakout, huge superstar kind of game from either Aronson or Flock Sunday?
The funny thing is, so apparently Paxton Aronson was on the list of players that get called up to the full national team for the U.S. men's national team, but obviously we're still in the playoffs. So obviously Greg Berhalter thinks very, very highly of Paxton Aronson. And I think part of that is for the big season that he's having for the Philadelphia Union this season, especially the last couple months that Paxton Aronson's been playing at a very, very high level. To see Daniel Gazdag or Paxton Aronson or Leon Flock have a very, very big game. Offensively, maybe not so much from Leon Flock, but yeah, wouldn't this be the game? Look, he had a chance in New York City to score a goal, and everybody's like, oh, there was definitely a pass to Shabelka. Leon said after the game, he said, yeah, I was trying to shoot, and thank goodness the ball went right to Kasper Shabelka. But offensively, I don't think we'll have a big game from Leon Flock, but defensively, I think Leon Flock will have a big game. And I would probably start Aronson over Anthony Fontana and let Anthony Fontana be the guy that comes off the bench. But if you're having Paxton Aronson come off the bench, I mean, both of those guys are offensive players, so I think you're fine either way. But we've seen the chemistry between Daniel Gazdag and Paxton Aronson. Love to have Brendan Aronson back just for one game. We would all love that, wouldn't we?
Absolutely.
The chemistry between Gazdag and Paxton Aronson, they have formality playing in the Christmas tree formation. So I can definitely see Paxton Aronson getting the start. And look, whoever's called upon to start this game, don't you think they're going to be motivated? And they're going to see that all of us fans are behind them. And they know that, like I said, David Bowie's heroes. I mean, when if these guys want to be a hero? In their press conferences, they've been talking about wanting to be a hero. Daniel Gazdag said he wanted to be the hero in the penalty shootout, but Andre Blake stole away the show. Jacob Glesnes talked about being the hero against New York Red Bulls with that crazy goal. And yeah, it's just about, okay, who's the next man up that's going to step up? We've seen that all season, right? It's always been the next man up mentality. We talk about it all the time, how the team is the superstar. It's not one player. Here's a player you didn't talk about, and so many fans are down. Kasper Shabelka. Don't you think this guy's going to be motivated to score where he's like, yeah, I'm the only fit striker on this roster right now. Maybe Sergio Santos, maybe Corey Burke, maybe they're be available to play tomorrow. But as things stands right now, at 1:30 on Saturday afternoon, it's only Kasper Shabelka. Don't you think Kasper Shabelka is like, man, I missed so many chances. This is a game that I need to step up for my team. I need to step it up for this city. I need to step it up for the fans. And I could see Kasper Shabelka having a big game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, is he not like for his last 10 shots? Like, I mean, not on target, but just for goals. I mean, the man is starving for a goal. I mean, the let's say critique he gets, to put it nicely, is warranted for sure with the amount of missed opportunity he has and clear open goals that he's put on the side of his foot or put over the post. I mean, I could see it in Sergio as well. I mean, last game, how many opportunities did he have and missed? 2 sitters, if memory serves me right. So, I mean, if he's available to play, I think he could definitely have a big game. And I think he needs a big game. These guys need to get in the back of the net for their own mentality.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, the good thing is that Daniel Gazdag the last couple of weeks has been in fine form. Thought he had the game-winning goal against Nashville, ruled for goalie interference from Sergio Santos. So the good news is Daniel Gazag's in terrific form, and we need to ride that. But, I mean, there's just so many... The whole possibility that, players know what's online. They know if they win this game, they go into the MLS Cup final. I think people are, forgetting, if we win this game, we go to the final. And then I feel like people are kind of underestimating the atmosphere of Subaru Park. We're definitely going to break the attendance record, I feel like. I mean, to sell out this stadium in 12 hours, that's fantastic. And I'm not scared at all. Somebody asked before, they said, how can MLS not postpone a game of this importance? It would be a stain on the league, don't you think? That was from George. Yeah, I would love for MLS to postpone the game, but look, they're not going to move the final next Saturday, which is December 11th. And so would you be okay with the Philadelphia Union having less practice, less rest going into a final? If that meant that they would get more players back, maybe you would. For me, I trust these players, and I was definitely a little bit worried. I mean, I know I was texting you yesterday, Tyler, like, yo, this player's unavailable. This player's unavailable. This is
Oh, yeah,
happens.
we were at a solid DEFCON 1.
Yeah, definitely. So flipping out and everything. But doing this podcast, talking, getting it out there, I mean, I definitely feel a lot more confident than I did maybe 2 hours ago when the news broke. A lot more confident than I was yesterday. And I just hope fans feel the same way, too, because what if the Philadelphia Union, the first 10 minutes of this game, score a goal? That place is going to erupt. And don't you think New York City is going to crawl back in their shoes and maybe they play a little bit more passive? And what if the Philadelphia Union go and score a second goal? Oh, my goodness. People are like, oh, we're absolutely screwed. We're going to lose 4-5-0 maybe. Hopefully it's not by 6. But I think there's all the possibility that the Philadelphia Union can come out here, see that the fans are behind them 100%, and the Philadelphia Union get an early goal.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't remember if it was Ricky or Paul who said it, but NYFC, they're not coming into us the fittest, especially in the midfield. I think Ricky might have said that. And we have a very healthy midfield. None of our midfield is really impacted besides obviously the captain, Ali Bedoya. But I am also in the camp that this might be a good thing that he has to sit out. You get some fresher legs out there, some younger legs perhaps. Excuse me.
Yeah,
But
you're
no,
missing.
I still think the momentum alone and the fans, look, they're scared. They're fans. They're not happy that they have to play in Subaru Park. And I think you're exactly right. If we go one goal up, they don't have Castellanos. They're not going to be able to bounce immediately back. They're going to have to go crawling back. I feel if we can go one up quick, it's a whole different game than anybody expects. I think you punch them right in the teeth immediately, you might knock them out.
I agree. I definitely agree. Ricky, I think you were trying to say something. Maybe not. I thought I heard Ricky.
Yeah, so they're missing Keaton Parks already. They're I wouldn't say James Sands is 100%, so he might be able to play, but they were playing that other Roca, I think. They were playing him when Sands went out. They're missing Tinnerholm's out already, so that means Gray has been playing, and Gray is. If he starts tomorrow, I will be absolutely baffled after the way he looked walking around. Like, he's the only reason that New England ties that game and goes to penalties is because they're essentially playing with 9 at that point. And like looking at their midfield, they've refused to play Zalalem since he got that red card. Essentially, like he was the next man up for the game against us, and then the second he gets the red card, they've just not been playing him, which I guess makes sense if you don't trust him. But New York's not a team. They're a lot like the Union in the way that you kind of look at that roster and you go, yeah, these are a bunch of like solid players, but there's not one player, especially with Castellanos out, that I'm sitting there going, oh, this guy's going to be the guy in this game to change things. Now, I think now, like, Sean Johnson is a great goalkeeper at an MLS level, so that is a little bit worrying, but you have most of your midfield intact, so you're going to still create the chances. It's just whether or not you have anybody to finish them and whether or not you have anybody to prevent the other team from getting their own chances.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the one thing that obviously we have a game on Sunday, right? But just like I can't help but to think ahead after this game. Like, if we win this, like who's right? Is Jonathan Tannenwald right that players can be cleared up an hour before? I mean, my understanding from going on MLS's website, I mean, it seems like Jonathan's right, but then Taylor Twellman's coming out and saying, no, players have to quarantine for 10 days, which means that they miss Sunday's game and they miss the final. So, yeah, I mean, I would just love for MLS to come out and say what the rule is. I would love to hear, like, MLS's, what they mean. I wouldn't want to hear everybody's interpretation, what they think that it means from reading MLS's protocols. I mean, maybe it's clear and everything, but I feel like it would be a lot more comforting for MLS just to come out and say, hey, look, here's the situation. I don't know. You've seen leagues all around the world adjust their COVID protocols midway through the season. So could MLS come out and change their COVID protocols? I mean, that would be helpful, I feel like, for Philadelphia Union, but it's MLS, and I feel like they do things on the fly, so I wouldn't bet that they did it. So I don't know. I'm just confident that we can see a result go our way. Like you guys said, I mean, there's a lot of players missing for New York City. The midfield looks pretty depleted. They don't have a striker at all. I mean, Erber, I talked about it in the last episode, it's only played 32 minutes. This season, that was his longest game, 32 minutes that he played. He's played a couple other games, but 32 minutes is the most that he's played, coming off that ACL injury. So, I mean, what does New York City do up top? Magno is who I expect them to play up top, but he hasn't adjusted to MLS yet. So I think it's going to be a very, very tight game. But, I just hope that fans get to the stadium early, that fans get behind this team, and fans can just make a crazy environment, because I know the Philadelphia Union, they have what it takes to reach the MLS Cup final. I mean, we've come this far. Why give up on this team? They haven't given up on themselves. So, I get the panicking, I get the sadness and everything, all the stress levels, because I was there with you guys yesterday. I was there with you guys. Well, I guess you guys went on there Thursday. I blame Ricky for that. So at least you guys had a day of thinking everything's okay. But on Thursday, I think that's when the Jim Curtin news came out that Cincinnati's trying to pry him away from Philadelphia Union. And look, we didn't even talk about that. I felt like that could be added to the emergency podcast, but we'll save that for another episode. But just anybody else want to get anything in here for this game tomorrow? Any thoughts? Feel free to get them in. Ricky, Tyler, anything from you guys you want to add?
I think you're 100% right that all the fans are going to make the difference. I mean, that we've been there for them all along. I don't think they're going to let us down despite the circumstances. I mean, you said it, I've said it, we've all said it. It's always been a next man up system, so why not us?
Yeah, I agree with that. Ricky? Yes, no, maybe. It's all good. Well, man, yeah, hopefully you guys can enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Hopefully we can get some of these people that are panicking on Twitter to calm down a little bit. You got to tell them about the podcast and maybe them listening. Jesus Christ, I just refreshed my Twitter. 96 notifications. Jesus Christ. So I mean, yeah, people are still flipping out. I see people talking about they need to reschedule this game. I guess the question is it 2 negative PCR tests? Is it 3 negative PCR tests? Keep in mind, PCR tests usually take between 12 to 24 hours. There is no rapid test that MLS takes, so it has to be a PCR test. But for our sake, hopefully, not all 11 of those players have COVID. Hopefully, they just came in close contact, whatever the case may be. But look, the players that we know that trained today on Saturday, the players that we know that we have available, I trust in them. Hopefully you guys do too. And let's go out. Let's kill the day. Let's kill tomorrow. Let's get pumped. Let's get ready. If you guys aren't following the podcast on social media, follow on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcasts, the Free Kick Podcast. The website that's not a website, thefreekickpodcast.com. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's scary when you look 17 players practice today, but there's no reason why I don't trust the players that we have available. And I think the boys in blue will make us proud. And if we get players that are coming off the player availability report before the game tomorrow, don't be surprised by that either. But regardless, you guys enjoy your Saturday. Hopefully your anxiety levels come down, and let's go and beat New York City tomorrow. Because with that said, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.